Let's give you some analysis on that manifesto which was launched by the ANC today. And for that, we are joined by political analyst Sysman Motloung, and he joins us via our video link. Sysman, thank you so much for your time here on SABC News. Let's start off here. A manifesto that has 6 key priorities. What is your take on the ANC's 2024 Elections Manifesto?
Yeah, I think what the ANC is really doing here is to continue on that narrative of them having to improve the livelihoods and making better the conditions of living since 1994. And we hear now how President Ramaphosa is saying this manifesto is not only about the next 5 years, but it is a projection for the next 30 years. So what they have really presented is something I could say is common and it's relevant to the needs of society. In my view, I've seen some correlations or similarities in what they've proposed. When you look at what the Democratic Alliance said, what EFF has said, and I think Rise Mzansi as well. So these are the common issues that are really burdening our society today, and they've really tried to be relevant to those aspects in this manifesto.
Something quite interesting that we noted is that when we take it back to the State of the Nation, we really barely heard about job creation. And this time around, it seems as if job creation has been highlighted in Ramaphosa's speech at Moses Mabhida Stadium, committing to at least create 2.5 million jobs in the next 5 years. How possible is that, especially when you have a struggling economy like ours?
Yes, I think from the State of the Nation address, they have been saying we have created opportunities. This is what I think the concept of Tintswalo has been presented, that there is a Tintswalo today who has been sponsored by government from primary education to tertiary education, and there's a Tintswalo now working in government institutions and private institutions. President Ramaphosa also now has expanded from a conceptual presentation of Tintswalo to mention specific people now who are now pilots and so forth. This is what ANC is saying now, to say they will create 2.5 million. Like I said, the Democratic Alliance said they will create 2 million jobs. Now, the big question is the one you're asking, how possible that is. The skeptics will say the ANC has promised 1 million jobs and so forth, and has it really delivered on that? That remains a contested issue from those who say we don't see a significant and a meaningful job creation except what government reports on expanded public works program and these internships where graduates attend and after 2 years they are unemployed again. That is not a solution if you are going to implement policies like that, to come back reporting that you have created jobs or those are job opportunities. I think from the trade unions, they would tell you that they want permanent jobs, they want meaningful living conditions. So that remains the issue, and a voter would want to say, should I trust the ANC again with a vote for them to create jobs, or should I trust the DA better, or even the Economic Freedom Fund? So in my view, it is a matter of saying how ANC is speaking today. It is saying we know there were certain mistakes, we have had oversight in the past, but this time around we are really committed. And there's no answer better than saying we will see when things happen. Otherwise, these remain promises, especially by a governing party that has been making promises and failing to deliver on those.
And sticking with promises, I mean, we always compare these types of manifestos to the last manifesto in 2019. And when it comes to these promises, and one would say that we've heard this all before. And when you compare it to 2019, do you think that there was something different this time around with this manifesto to, of course, lure those voters that will be voting on the 29th of May?
For me, something that comes up is the aspect of saying they will institute protectionist policies, especially on industrialization and reindustrialization, especially when you look at cities that are becoming ghosts because industries have closed. And the big debate again or complaint from the trade union side was how government has allowed industry in South Africa to be vulnerable compared to competition against companies from abroad, especially in the steel sector, textile sector, where you found that steel companies had to contend and compete against a very unfair system where international organizations or factories will export material. South Africa basically is importing steel that should have been bought locally, that should have textile products that should have been produced and manufactured locally. Now the ANC is making a commitment on that part to say we want to really improve on that part. The second thing is I don't know what he really means here, but it sounds like there's a thinking of innovating how government will intervene in municipalities. We know from local government, the complaint was dysfunctional municipalities. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa is saying we will ensure that empower. I think that's what they will empower the province and national government to intervene better in municipalities that are failing. So I think there's a thought around readjusting technicalities or structural arrangements where it will become easier to intervene instead of having to see municipalities blocking these interventions where they are failing, and there has to be placed under administration, but local municipalities have a power to reject that. So I think that will be very good to see happening.
Stadiumology is always a very big topic, during this time, and we saw a very packed Moses Mabhida Stadium. And what does that signify for the ANC, especially during a time where critics have said that they can dip below 50%?
Yeah, I think it was very important to fill that stadium as part of comparison with other political parties, because in our political culture, it seems like you say stadiumology, it's like if your stadium is empty or is not full to capacity, that is a sign that you do not have support. But again, that cannot be a true measure in a sense that the EFF, for example, has been able could fill stadiums all around the country, but when we came to the ballot, we did not see the EFF really garnering the support. Even in by-elections, we do not see the EFF garnering the required support for it to take over. One would have expected the EFF to have surpassed the Democratic Alliance at least, but it has failed to do that. That shows people can, for excitement and emotional engagement, they can really fill the stadia. But when it comes to the ballot, they might have a different perception. It is good today for ANC to have had this kind of optics. You've seen how the lightning worked, and I think Julius Malema on social media also responded to that. You see, they are really looking into the trends that are happening, and in my view, it seems that the EFF has an upper hand on a various aspect of aesthetics and how they present themselves in the stadia. And so it was very good for the ANC to fill the stadium, and we saw how they also introduced MK. I think for me, MK had a better presence. They were visible than before, and that is a response to the emergence of the Jacob Zuma MK. Now we have an ANC MK and Jacob Zuma MK, that, or maybe the real and the fake MK, like we have President Ramaphosa say, the real MK is here and alive. This was very good for the ANC.
Sysman, thank you so much for your time. That is Sysman Motloung. He is a political analyst there, just giving us analysis on the ANC's Election Manifesto, which was launched today.